ברשוס אבימוי לשליטו, ברשוס כל הקול הקודש, תלמידי חכמים, מגידי שיעורים, יושבי בית המדרש. It is a great honor to have with us at this very special night Hagoyin Rabbi Daniel Glatstein, Rav Kehillas Tiferes Mordechai of Cederhurst, New York, an author of 5 Sephorim and Lashon HaKodesh, including the newest one that came out today, released today, Magid Avokia and Sefer Shemois. So that alone is mamish Ze Hayoim Osa Adonai Nogilo V'Nismech Avoy Tzas HaSefer. Besides Rabbi Glatstein having thousands and thousands of shiurim all over Torah anytime and many, many, many more, but the tremendous avodas HaTorah of Talmidei and Talmidei Talmidei all over the world, the tremendous oratory that's brought into the world, the Roshusoi of Hagoyin of Daniel Glatstein, is mamish loi. It's hard to hold Bal Yitur, Bal Yeshua, every word of Torah. Imagine one shiur. So imagine thousands of shiurim all over the globe. And having Rabbi Glatstein here tonight with us is a tremendous chus. It's the second time here in Netzach Yisrael. And this itself over here, Yeshiva's Netzach Yisrael, goes back for so many years. So the roots, the shoroshim of this place represents Mamish Gdoile Oilom, of Gustman Zeche Tzadik Livroche, Geoina Geoinim. So to continue that tremendous legacy of Torah, of Gdoile Oilom, and such a Makom Kodesh, by such tremendous renowned Goyin B'Torah, is a tremendous zechus, and all of this Shemamish should continue. The Kaddish Shem Shomayim. Before we ask Rabbi Glatstein to come up, I want to ask my father to represent all the sponsors of the shiur. You have it?
I have it. A lot of people.
Yeah?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. Shabbat. Come on.
Station break here for the commercial. Very quickly, we'll run through the sponsors. There are many sponsors. It seems some I don't know if I was supposed to read it, but I have it. Okay. The first sponsor is apparently my wife and I. On the occasion of my birthday, which is tonight. 39th birthday. Now I remember I was about 40 odd years ago. No, maybe it was 30 years ago. I was at a Semicha of one of the Bachurim who was learning with one of my sons, and there's a lot of dancing. Afterwards, the Rosh Hashanah, he said, "Wow, there's really some dancing. How old are you?" Oh, I guess at the time I was about maybe about 60. So I said, "I'm 39." "Oh, 39," he said. "And this is the way you're able to dance?" I said, "Really, I generally tell people I'm 29. But since you know my son, I can't get away with it." All right, anyway. And the blessing, I guess this will be my wife, that I should continue to be active in teaching Sefer Mishlei with Perush, Agrar, Rashi, Mitzudos, all kinds of Meforshim. I give a shiur every night over the phone to the members of my family, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and then we sing a song afterwards. Okay. Next sponsor, Rabbi Aaron Doston of Yibaneh of Yerushalayim. Then Dr. Neil and Miriam Cowell from Shari Chesed in honor of our friend Yehudi German. It's everywhere. Okay. Then Maya and Leigh Danziger of Shari Chesed and formerly of Lakewood in honor of Rabbi Glatstein and his incredible Torah shiurim. Oh, then we have here, he looks half asleep. Wake up, Zelig and Heidi Wolf from the Ilui Nishmat of Peretz ben Avraham, Zelig's father, and the Yortzeit on the 8th of Kislev. Zelig should have a long life. He's a very honored member of our community, big Torah scholar, Baal Chesed. Amit and Sarah Moore from the Bahamas, daughter and son-in-law of my wife and I, in honor of their father's birthday, which is Hey Kislev. Likewise, Yehuda and Rachel Schultz of Hollywood, Florida. Also my daughter and her husband. Happy birthday. Then we have Eliezer Ganut from Beitar Elite. Refuah Shlema V'zivug Hagun Lebluma Bat Asa. Then Alon and Kira Yaakov from Ra'anana. Nachas from their children, a lot of nachas. And Briut Eitana for Levi Yitzhak. From Rabbi Menachem Chanan of Melbourne, Australia. From the Iluna Shama for Harav Mordechai Goldstein, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Dais Yeshiva, who was one of the Gedolei HaMakaravim of Klal Yisrael. And the bracha and Hatzlacha for the whole Herman family is another one pitching in. It spreads so much Torah in Klal Yisrael. Okay. Almost finished. Then Dr. Avram Levi of Ramat Beit Shemesh, from the Iluna Shama for his father, Aaron ben Shaul Menachem, and of course a long life for Dr. Avram Levi. Then Rabbi Jerry and Yafa Miller of Yerushalayim on the upcoming wedding of their son Shemaiah. And in honor of Rabbi Glatstein's Torah. Then Dr. Philip Kaplan of Ra'anana, in honor of Rabbi Glatstein. I've got a lot of fans there, Rabbi. Then Elaine and Leonard Chazan from Ra'anana. And thank you to Hashem on Leonard's recent recovery from surgery. Big refuah shlema. And last but not least, Rabbi Avrami and Mrs. Chana Kitov of Kitov Sachra Seminary. Got a few fans there. And why, what's so special? In honor of Chana's father. That's me. Okay. For happy birthday. Okay? Rabbi, we have a lot of fans. How you feeling?
Thank you.
Oops. Okay, that's lovely.
If anybody else would like to make a few introductory comments, now's your chance. Rabbi Shabtai, you took my share. Welcome everybody. What a great zechus it is to be here in Yerushalayim. Thank you again to all the sponsors, especially to Mishpachas Herman. Mazel tov and happy birthday to Rabbi Shabtai. Should be gezinnt and nachas the kedusha from your home mishpacha, together with the Rebbitzin. Rebbitzin Herman is single-handedly responsible for bringing me here this evening. This is many, many weeks and months in preparation to secure the right location and the right time and secure all the right individuals to make this happen. Bershus Hagoyin Rabbi Shmuel, the Rosh Kollel of the Shadenstein Kollel. Last year, I spoke before Purim, and now I'm here before Hanukkah. And we know there's a commonality between Purim and Hanukkah. These are two Yamim Tovim that are D'Rabbanan. And I would like to begin this evening by examining a few details of the Al Hanisim, which, by the way, who wrote the Al Hanisim? La Hanisim is machlokes between the Kolboy and the Roikeach, exactly how many words are in Al Hanisim, whether there are 124 words in Al Hanisim or 125 words in Al Hanisim. But everybody agrees it was written by Yochanan Kohen Gadol. Yochanan is Gematria 125. And either he wrote 125 words, Keminyan Shemai, or he wrote 124 words, one less than Shemai, Mipnei An V'Sanusai. And there's an expression in the Al Hanisim which is very difficult. In Al Hanisim we say, U'lecha asisa shem gadol v'kadosh ba'olamecha, that through the miracle of Hanukkah you performed and you created a great name in your world. Ula'amcha Yisrael asisa teshua gedola, and for your people Israel, Klal Yisrael, you made a great salvation, upurkan, and redemption, kehayoim hazeh, as of today. What does that mean? As of today, it's not happening. That's not tomorrow, and it's not yesterday. What does that mean? Kehayoim hazeh. What do these words in Al Hanisim add? Kehayoim hazeh, asks Hagoyin Rav Shlomo Kluger in his Perush on the Siddur. Now, where do you find the Perush of Rav Shlomo Kluger on the Siddur? It's in the Rabbi Yaakov Emden Siddur. But it's not in the old print of Rabbi Yaakov Emden Siddur. And it's also not in the new print of Rabbi Yaakov Emden Siddur. But there is an intermediary print of the Rabbi Yaakov Emden Siddur, which basically you can't really get. It's on Oitzer HaChachma, where it's printed Reb Shlomo Kluger's Ha'aros on Al Hanisim, and there Reb Shlomo Kluger asks this question and another very important question. The Gemara in Chulin Adav Kuf Lametes. The Gemara in Chulin is talking about the miracle of Purim, and the Gemara asks, the main figures in the Purim story, Haman, Mordechai, Esther, where are they alluded to in the Torah? So the Gemara asks, Haman min HaTorah minayin? Hamin ha'etz. Esther min HaTorah minayin? V'anoichi haster aster panai. Mordechai min HaTorah minayin? Mardarar. Fragt Reb Shlomo Kluger, what about Hanukkah? What about Yochanan min HaTorah minayin? What about Antiochus min HaTorah minayin? What about all the great heroes of Hanukkah? Why does the Gemara not seek to find an allusion to the great personalities of Hanukkah in the Torah? Why only Haman, Mordechai, Esther? Why not Yochanan, Matisyahu min HaTorah minayin? The Gemara Masechta Yuma makes a very interesting comment. The Gemara says, why is Esther compared to Ayelas HaShachar, to the morning star? Lam natseach al Ayelas HaShachar Mizmar LeDavid. What parak is that in Tehillim? What? 22. Reb Neil Kowal, from my good friend from Eretz Yisrael and from Boston, he was one of the first pioneers on our trips, right? We went to Sachachav together. 22, Chaf Beis, Lam Natseach al Ayelas HaShachar, Mizmar LeDavid. Esther's compared to the morning star. That just like the morning star is the end of the night, Esther is the last miracle. The Gemara asks, what do you mean it's the last miracle? Hanukkah came after Purim. Says the Gemara, Nitna li kasev kamrinan. We're talking about miracles that you're allowed to write. You can't record Hanukkah. Hanukkah is not recorded. Why not? Why can't Hanukkah be recorded? What's the problem recording Hanukkah? It's as if Hanukkah cannot be in the written text. Now I want to ask you a question. This is a question I never thought about until this year. And this year, I've learned Chumash with Rashi in the past. This year I said, okay, when I learn Chumash and Rashi, I'm going to bring with me a pen and a paper. It changed my life. Because whenever you learn, you always have ha'aras, you have thoughts, you have machshavos, but then 2 minutes later, it's kachaloim ya'of. So I started to write down, this kasha is such a good question, it's the best question you ever heard it. And if you don't agree, then don't say anything. This question out of this world. So there's this big vikuach, there's a big conversation taking place about the first shidduch in history. Yitzchak and Rivka, but Yitzchak's not there. He sent the shadchan. So you imagine Eliezer sitting on one side of the table, and on the other side of the table you got your uncle Lavan, your Zayda Besuel, and there's a big conversation taking place. And your uncle says to Eliezer, no, why don't you have a little cholent? And we know what was inside that cholent. And Eliezer said, no, lo yuchal lechol ad ki im dibarti devarai. Let's talk first. And Chazal say the Malach came and started repositioning the food. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the conversation, Vayan achiha ve'ima. Rashi says, what do you mean achiha ve'ima? What happened to Besuel? What about aviha ve'ima ve'achiha? What happens? Says Rashi, the Malach came and killed Besuel. So just imagine, Eliezer's one side on the table. You had Besuel straight ahead, Lavan, and the mother. All of a sudden, Besuel, right? He keels over. He's dead. So now, what happens? The conversation continues like nobody's business. So they said, they say, let's call Rivka to see if Rivka wants to marry the guy. So they call Rivka in, and they say, Rivka, you want to marry the guy? And Rivka says, I'm going to go even if you don't let. And they say, maybe keep her here a couple months, maybe keep her a year. And she says, I'm going now. And they send her away. Meanwhile, he's dead on the floor. The man is dead on the floor. Could we find out? Did they call the Chaver Kadisha? Did they put him in the closet? Did they put him under the rug? Did they put a bag over his head? I mean, the main decider of whether the daughter is going to go through with the shidduch, he's lying there dead on the floor. Was there a hesped? Was there a shiva? Did they call misaskim? What happened? Was there a tara? The father died. Could you tell me what happened to him? No. It continues as usual, as if nothing happened. Well, he was lying there. Did they ever remove him? Is he still on the floor now? Maybe that would be a nice tiyul. We'll go to Haran to see Besuel on the floor. What happened to him? Maybe they should have said, you know what, Eliezer? Before we continue with this conversation, let's have a moment of silence for the dead father. No. Continues like nothing happened. What's going on over here? I have another kasha. This week's parsha. Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana. So Yaakov goes to Haran. And the pasuk says he's headed to the Harabayas, and he passes by the Harabayas, and he forgets to daven, and he says, Oy vay, makom shespalu avoisai v'lo yispalalti, yohav daitei lemahadar. He heads back, and the Harabayas jumps toward him. Vayishkav ba'makom hahu, says Rashi Loshen Miyot, ba'oisai makom shachav. The 14 years in Yeshiva Sheva Ever, he didn't sleep. Why? Shahaya Oisek B'Torah. He was learning. Do you know how many Rashis there are in Chumash? That Rashi says, now let's make a calculation based on the life of Yishmael. It comes out we're missing 14 years. So what happened to those 14 years? Says Rashi, it must be Yaakov Avinu was learning. Rashi says this at the end of Chayei Sarah. Rashi says this in Toldos. Lamadata she'achar shekibel habrachos nitman b'beis Ever. Shouldn't there be a pasuk in Chumash that says, Vayelech Yaakov el Yeshiva Shem be'ever Vayilmad Sham Yudalet Shana Lo Yishachav Balayla V'lo Yishachav B'yoyim V'lo Yholach El HaKofi Room. Shouldn't we have a pasuk that says in the Chumash that Yaakov Avinu learned for 14 years? By the way, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein asked this kasha. And he says, from here we see the great Yisrael. Last night we were by the kever of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, "Im lamadata Torah harbe al tachzik toiva la'atzmecha ki lekach no'itzarta." If you learn a lot of Torah, don't give yourself credit. That's what you were created for. Where do we learn that from? From the fact that Torah never says that Yaakov learned. Of course he's learning. Do we need to say he was breathing? Do we need to say that he was alive? If you're alive, ki lekach no'itzarta. But still, it's a question. Why every time the Torah refers to the 14 years of Yaakov learning in Shiva Shem Be'ever, it never says explicitly he was learning. It sort of jumps through hoops so that you have to figure out, well, he slept here, but he didn't sleep somewhere else. Yishmael lived X amount of years. From there we could figure out Yaakov Avinu was learning for 14 years in Yeshiva Shem Be'ever. Is there something wrong to say that somebody is learning? I mean, I would think that's complimentary of Yaakov Avinu. Why can't the Torah say explicitly he was learning? So the best question you'll ever hear was, what's with Terach? How could it be the man just died and the story continues? Exactly. And what about, this is the second best question you'll hear. So Esav is looking all over for Yaakov Avinu. Now where does Yaakov Avinu always stay? Where does he, the man is in yeshiva day and night. That's what he did his entire life. He never went anywhere else. Yaakov didn't go bowling. Yaakov didn't go tiyulim or anywhere else. He was in yeshiva. He was Yoshev Oiholem. Yeshiva Shem, Yeshiva Ever. So where exactly is Esav looking for Yaakov that he can't find him? Where are these Mekayimos that Esav is searching for Yaakov? You know, I searched everywhere. Hey, Esav, try Yeshiva Shem Ever. Oh, I didn't think of that. Where did he think Yaakov would be? That's where Yaakov Avinu always was. He never went anywhere else. Why can't Esav find Yaakov Avinu? The end of Parshas Noach, the Torah says, Vayamas Terach b'charan. So Rashi says, what do you mean Vayamas Terach b'charan? Terach didn't die yet. Who remembers? How old was Terach when Abraham was born? He's 70. How old was Abraham when Abraham left Haran? 75. That makes Terach 145. How old was Terach when Terach died? 205. So why did the Torah kill Terach 60 years before he died? Vayamas Terach b'charan. No, he didn't. He didn't die yet. He's still going to live another 60 years. Says Rashi, it's true, Terach was still alive. But the Torah couldn't write that Terach was still alive and have people think that Terach was still alive, because then people are going to ask, Yaakov Avinu left an aging, dying father at 205 years? That Avram Avinu left his father? How could he leave his aging father? That's not nice of Avram Avinu. So what does the Torah say? The Torah says, Terach is dead, and therefore nobody's going to have a kasha. How could Avram Avinu leave his father? Because people are going to read in the Torah that Terach died, and people are going to say, oh, Avram only left after Terach died. Are you familiar with this Rashi? Remember this Rashi? So Rashi says Terach died even though he was alive, so people don't criticize Avram Avinu. So imagine you're living in Mesopotamia, and Avram Avinu books to Haran, and you knock on Terach's door, and you say, Terach, where's your son Avram? Terach says, oh, Abraham left. And you're about to think, why would Abraham leave an aging father? But then you open up the Schottenstein edition of the Chumash, and there it says Abraham left Terach when Terach died. So you look at Terach and he's alive and breathing, but then you look in the Schottenstein Chumash and you see that Terach is still alive, that Terach died. So you say, okay, even though it looks like Terach is alive, but it says in the Chumash that he's died, so he must be dead. So you say, Terach, I'm so sorry that you died. Have a great day. Have a lot. What's going on here? People got their news from the Chumash. There were people who were alive in the time of Terach. They saw the man is still alive. They see Abraham forsook him. And there was no Chumash back in the time of Terach to begin with. So what's Rashi talking about? So that nobody criticizes Avram, that Avram left an aging father. The Torah wrote that Terach died. Who exactly is going to criticize Avram? We're going to criticize Avram? We're not going to criticize him. The people who were alive in the times of Chumash, they didn't have the Chumash. And if they had the Chumash, how are they going to reconcile the fact that Terach was breathing with the text of the Chumash? There's another Rashi, next week's parsha, by Yishlach. Does the Torah ever record the death of Rivka Yimenu? No, it doesn't say anywhere that Rivka Yimenu died. It says that Yaakov was coming back to Eretz Yisrael, and Vatamos devoira meinekes Rivka, Vatikaver mitachas lebeisel tachas ha'ila. That Yaakov Avinu came to the levaya of devoira. Devoira died. So Rashi's bothered. Aloin bachus is lashon rabim. Someone else died besides Rivka. Says Rashi, who else besides Devaira? Who else died besides Devaira? Rivka. Ask Rashi, why doesn't the Torah say that Rivka died? Says Rashi, the Torah hides the fact that Rivka died so that nobody curses the womb that produced Esav. This way nobody knows that Rivka died. What's Rashi talking about? So you're living there in the ancient land of the Hebrews, and you're walking down the street and you see them carrying the coffin, and you say, who's inside? Rivka. And you're about to curse. No, but the Torah doesn't say she died. So therefore what? You see that she's not alive. Of what relevance is it that the Torah doesn't record that Rivka died? The reality is she's not alive. So what do these Rashis mean? What's Rashi talking about? The Torah says Terach died, even though he didn't, so no one criticizes Abraham, but everybody knows Terach is still alive, everybody knows Rivka dies. What is Rashi talking about? So let's talk about the following question. What's the most important concept in the Torah? The most important yesod in the Torah is that Olam Hazeh Doime Lefroizdar B'fnei Ha'olam Haba. That this world is a corridor before the world to come. That this world is a preparation, a hallway before the great palace of Olam Haba. How many times is that yesod spoken about in the Chumash? How many times does the Torah talk about Olam Haba? It's not mentioned. The Torah doesn't talk about Olam Haba. Why doesn't the Torah talk about Olam Haba? That's the Yesod, HaChasidus, V'shoyresh, Ha'avoda, Ha'tamimahi, She'yisbarer, V'yisametz, Eitzel Ha'adam, Ma'chayvasai Ba'ilamai. So why does the Chumash not say, Olam Hazeh, Doima Lefroizdar B'fnei Ha'olam? Why doesn't the Torah talk about Olam Haba? So the Kli Yakar gives 10 answers in Parshas B'chukaisai. Says Rav Aaron Kotler, there's a very simple answer. The answer is Estakel ba'oiraisa ubara alma. What is the Chumash? What is the Torah? The Torah is the blueprint of reality. The Torah is the architectural plans of creation. So if you hired an architect, and then you came to the building and you said, hey, Mr. Architect, why is there no basement in the building? Why didn't the builders build a basement? And then you look at the architectural plans, because it wasn't drawn up. Or if you wanted a den and you see no den was built, and then you look at the plans and there was no den in the plans, you understand why it wasn't built. The Torah is the architectural plan of reality. Whatever is in the Chumash is an open reality. Whatever is not in the Chumash is not in perceivable reality. The Rebbeinu Shem deemed that it is not possible for a human being while alive to see and recognize and perceive Olam Haba. And therefore Olam Haba cannot be in the Chumash. Because if it's going to be in the Chumash, then Ayin Rasa. But the Rebbeinu Shem wants Ayin Loi Rasa. The Rebbeinu Shem wants that we should not be able to see with our human eyes, Olam Haba, so it can't be spoken about openly in the text. Whatever is open in the text is open in reality. What's not open in the text is not open reality. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It could be spoken about in the Torah Shabbat Peh, it could be inferred, it could be implied. Whatever is implied is in a more concealed reality. Whatever is stated is in an open reality. So therefore Olam Haba is not spoken about because it's not perceived openly. That's the yesod of the Zohar HaKadosh, Istakel ba'oraisa ubara alma. How did the Rebbeinu Shem create the world? The Nefesh HaChaim explains. The Rebbeinu Shem opened up the text and he read Bereshis bara Elokim, and he said the words Eis HaShamayim, and the Shamayim appeared. V'Eis HaAretz, and the Aretz appeared. And the Rebbeinu Shem created parents through the midst of Kibbut Avayim, and the Rebbeinu Shem created a Zroya through the midst of Tefillin, and the Rebbeinu Shem created a Guf through the midst of Tzitzis. And the Rebbeinu Shem created birds through the midst of Shiluach HaKain. The Torah creates reality. Whatever is not in the Torah, whatever is not spoken, is in a more concealed state of reality. Rav Hutner says, Chazal tells Yaakov Avinu loy meis. Yaakov never died. Yeah, but we're going tomorrow to the Mara Samach Pela. Are you coming, by the way? You're coming? Very good. Thank you. We're going. If Yaakov is loy meis, so what are we going to the Mara Samach Pela for? Why does Yaakov have a kever? So the Gemara says, no, Mikra ani doiresh. I didn't say he didn't die. I darshan a pasuk. Yeah, what's the nafkamina whether you said he died or you darshan a pasuk that he didn't die? The answer is, if you say that he didn't die, then you're going to see him walking down the street. But if you darshan a pasuk that he didn't die, then of course he died in open reality. There's just a hidden, concealed dimension which we don't perceive that Yaakov Avinu didn't die. There are different dimensions of Torah and there are different dimensions of reality. And the different dimensions of reality correspond to the different dimensions of the Torah. Today we have the zchus to visit Rechav Ha'ayin Ches, the Strauss Chotzer. And in this Chotzer lived, in 1904 came Rav Itzela Petterberg. 1906, Rav Naftali Amsterdam. Born into this Chotzer was Rav Simcha Zisel Broida, Yeshiva of Hebron. What I would like to share with you now is a major offering of Rav Simcha Zisel in the Sefer Sam Derech, based on this principle of Istakel ba'oraisa ubara alma. You know, we have in Parshas Behaloischa 2 upside down nuns. And we have 2 psukim there between the upside down nuns and 85 letters. And the Gemara wants to know, what exactly are these upside down nuns? And the Gemara basically says that it's to teach that it's Eino min HaSeder. It's to teach that it's out of order. It's out of order. And the Gemara says that really what happened were 3 consecutive Paranios, one after another. First, the Paranios of Vayisu Mehar Hashem, that Klal Yisrael ran away from Har Sinai, Ketina Kabarech Mi Beis HaSefer. and then the Peranios of the Ched of the Mesoinanim, and then the Peranios of the Ched of the Asafsaf. And the Ramban explains that in reality, there were 3 Peranios that happened back to back to back. They did occur back to back to back. However, the Torah did not want to record it back to back to back, because if the Torah would have recorded it one after another, we would become muchsuk b'peranios. We would have a status quo, a presumptive status that we always sin. So even though it happened 3 consecutive averos, the Torah would not record it that way, so that we would not be muchsuk b'peranios. So ask Reb Simcha Zissel, who cares how it's written? But it happened one after another. So what if it's not recorded that way? And the answer is as follows. Chazal tell us in the Yalkut Shimoni that the Torah was not given specifically in the year 2448. The Torah existed 1,000 generations before the 26th generation. It's Davar Tziva Elef Dar. The Torah existed 974 generations before Brias Ha'olam. And for 974 generations, if you look at number 18, the Rebbe Shalom was Doiresh the Torah, Choyker the Torah, Mitzaref the Torah. And then he said it. Says the Yalkut, B'chol davar v'davar shekava b'Torah. Anything established in the Torah. Imzaz mimekoimai kima kilkel as kol ha'olam kulai. If somebody would move one letter of the Torah out of its place, the entire world would be destroyed. What does that mean? Why would the whole world be destroyed if somebody moved one letter out of its place? So imagine if you were a physicist and you went to a laboratory and you said, I just want to see what's going to happen if I take that electron and I just move it over ever so slightly. You could blow up an entire continent, because the atom is the building block of the world. If you tamper with matter on that fundamental level, you could destroy the entire world. It's the same thing with the Torah. The Torah is even more fundamental than an atom. If one letter of the Torah deviated, was moved one iota to the right or one iota to the left, the entire world would cease to exist. You remember the Gemara in Megillah? The Gemara tells us that Yonasan ben Uziel began to reveal the Targum. What's the lashon of the Gemara? V'nezdazeya Eretz Yisrael arba me'os parsa ba'arba me'os parsa. The entire world shook. Whatever part of the Torah should be revealed must be revealed. Whatever part of the Torah is concealed must be concealed. Reality is not what happens. Reality is what it says in the document. If it exists in the document, it exists in reality. If it's not in the document, it does not exist. Says Reb Simcha Zissel. Esav was looking all over for Yaakov Avinu. And guess where he checked first? He checked the Yeshiva Shem Ba'ever. And he went to Yaakov's seat, right over there. And he looked at the seat. But Yaakov wasn't in the seat. Why is he not in the seat? Because the Torah spliced out of the document that Yaakov was learning. We could figure out he was learning. We could infer that he was learning. We could be medayik that he was learning. But if it's taken out of the architectural plans, it is not perceivable by Einei Basar V'Dam that Yaakov Avinu was learning, and therefore Esav couldn't find him. So how did Yaakov hide? By being so beloved HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Rebbe Shalom was willing to change the text of the document to hide that Yaakov was learning, and now it is no longer nicker by Einei Basar V'Dam. And you could have been alive in the year, we're going back now, a little bit before your time. Avram Avinu was born in 1948. So now Terach is 140 years later. So we're a little bit, in the year 2100. And you're looking out with your binoculars, at your friend Terach's house, and you think you see Avram Avinu leaving Terach's house. So you knock on Terach's door, and Terach says, yes, what's going on? And you're wondering, why would Terach's son leave an aging father? And you're about to criticize Avram Avinu. But it doesn't dawn on you that Avram left a living Terach. Why not? Because the Torah says Terach died. And therefore it is not perceivable in an open reality, the life of Terach, to those who are alive and interacting with him at that time. Who says that? Istakel ba'iraisa ubara alma. If it's not in the text, you can't see it, you can't recognize it, you can't perceive it. Says Reb Simcha Zisel. And Rivka Imenu died. So why doesn't anybody criticize her at the Levaya? Because nobody even knows she died. You know, the Ramban goes so far as to say that nobody came to her funeral. Yaakov didn't come. Esav didn't come. Says the Ramban, Helima misasa, nim helima misasa, it is not recognizable that she died. So let's come back to the best question you ever heard. So you're sitting there at the table, they're discussing the Shidduch, and Eliezer's on one side, and Lavan and Besuel are on the other side, and all of a sudden Besuel gently keels over. Does anybody scream, hey, Hatzalah, revive him? No. Why not? How does the conversation continue business as usual? Because the Torah does not say that Besuel died. It says, Vayan achiha ve'ima. And therefore, to the Einei Basar Adam, to the human psyche, as difficult as it might sound, that's what occurred. This is the Yesod of the Zohar HaKadosh. If it's removed from the open text, it's not perceivable by Einei Basar Adam. But by the way, it's more than what it says and what it doesn't say. It's also about when you say it. What's it, Tay Monday? Yesterday, we were by the foot of Har HaKarmel. And you have there the kvura of some of the Bali HaToises. You have Reb Shimshon Mishantz. You know that Reb Shimshon Mishantz was the third greatest of all the Rishonim. Who is the greatest of all the Rishonim? What? Rabbeinu Tam. Yeah, people listen to the shiurim. Very good. Rabbeinu Tam was the greatest of all the Rishonim. The Rosh says that. Ferish. Gada b'chacham of a minyan, we call it Rishonim. Who's number 2? The Ri Hazaken. Says the Rosh. Who's number 3? Reb Shimshon of Shantz. Rubam Kekulam of Toisvis is Banoi and Reb Shimshon Mishantz. He wrote the Perush on Zram and Taras, and came out all the Toisvis in our Yusad on his Yisaidos. Buried next to Reb Shimshon Mishantz is Rabbi Chil of Paris. Rabbi Chil of Paris was forced to debate Nicholas Danan when there were accusations against the Talmud. And they burnt the Talmud in 1240. They burned 24 cartloads of Talmud. So they made a Sheilas Chaloim. Why is it happening? So it was said in a Sheilas Chaloim, it was happening, Da Gezerah Soiraisa, Zois Chukas HaTorah, Da Gezerah. So they made a tainus every Friday Parshas Chukas, says the Magen Avram, Yoim HaParsha Goyreim. The fact that you read Chukas the next day was Goyreim, a Gezerah against the Torah the day before. So it's not just what it says in the document affects and changes reality. It's when the document is read affects and changes reality. The Chayz of Lublin says that every time you read Parshas Boy, there's a ha'ara of Pesach, because since it talks about Yetzias Mitzrayim, it creates a ha'ara of Pesach. And when you read about Matan Torah, there's a ha'ara of Shavuos. That's why it's suggested that on Tisha B'Av, what do we lay on Tisha B'Av morning? Kisoy Lid Banim. What parsha is that? Bo'as Chanan. But that's the parsha of that week. Exactly. Because if you would lay in any other parsha on Tisha B'Av, let's say you would lay in Parshas Bereshis, then on Parshas Shabbos Bereshis, there would be a ha'ara of Tisha B'Av. And we don't want to have another ha'ara of Tisha B'Av. Sanching Hazel was masaking to read Va'eschanan on Tisha B'Av, because anyway that's the week of Va'eschanan. So when something is read in the Torah, affects what happens that time of the year. And if it's not in the Torah, that means it's not programmed into creation. You ready for this? Haman min HaTorah minayin. Esther min HaTorah minayin. Mordechai min HaTorah minayin. The Gemara wants to know, Purim had to happen. Purim was a decree, says of Shlomo Kluger, against Klal Yisrael. That Klal Yisrael will be destroyed. But there'll always be Klal Yisrael. So if there'll always be Klal Yisrael, there has to be a Purim. So therefore, Haman min HaTorah, Achashverosh, the Gemara doesn't ask, but Mordechai min HaTorah, Esther min HaTorah, because there has to be a Purim. Because it was a gzera against the physical entity of Klal Yisrael. But says of Shlomo Kluger, there didn't have to be a Hanukkah. Didn't have to be a Hanukkah? Yeah, that's right. What caused Hanukkah? What caused Hanukkah? The Bach writes, they were Nisrashel ba'avoida. What does it mean Nisrashel ba'avoida? They came to Shul, but they came a little late. Now in Eretz Yisrael, nobody would ever think of bringing a phone into a Beis HaKnesses. In Eretz Yisrael, there's no such thing. And in America, probably, there's also no such thing. But there are other planets, maybe, in the Milky Way, where people might think of bringing a phone into the Beis HaKnesses. But then they remembered, that's why the Yevanim came and shut down the Beis HaMikdash. Because Rebbe Shalom said, you're more interested in something else other than tefillah? Close it down. I don't want it at all. That's what happened by Hanukkah. They came to the Beis HaMikdash. They were just Nisrashel in the Avodah and the Beis HaMikdash. They were interested in tefillah, but they were also interested in their phone. So Hashem said, if you're also interested in the phone, just take the phone and look at your phone. But I'm not giving you the Beis HaMikdash. Hanukkah did not have to happen because we brought it on ourselves, says Reb Shlomo Kluger. And since we brought it on ourselves, didn't have to happen, and it's up to us to get it back. It's our achrayus to get it back. And we might get it back, and we might not get it back. And it's up to us, the Bach writes, to be nischazek ba'avoida, and then we'll get it back. But Hanukkah was not programmed into the Bria. And therefore there's no remez to Hanukkah in the Torah. We were the ones who are nisrashel ba'avoida, and we're the ones who will be mechazek ba'avoida. And it was totally up to us. Every other miracle was part of the program. Hanukkah was created by the Jewish people. And therefore, says Reb Shlomo Kluger, by the miracle of Hanukkah, he says, by every other miracle, T'nai hisna HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'masa bereshis. So it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu did a miracle, Teshua Gedolah Porkan, Miyamim Mikedem. But Hanukkah is Teshua Gedolah Uporkan Kehillas Hazeh. It happened today. It was never decided before. It happened on that day. Klal Yisrael were mechazik ba'avoda. The Rebbe Shalom said, you want it? You create the miracle. That's the fundamental difference between Hanukkah and Purim. This is all based on the Yesod. Istakel ba'iraisa ubara alma. To the level that something is kasuv v'chasum in the Torah, to that level something exists in the open reality. To the level that it's not written openly, it doesn't exist. Purim was a foregone conclusion. Haman min HaTorah, Mordechai min HaTorah, Esther min HaTorah. But Hanukkah was loy nitein li kasev, says Reb Shlomo Kluger. It could not be written down. It was something that was created by Klal Yisrael. And because of that, it's Yeshua Gedola Ufurkan Kayem Hazeh. So says Reb Simcha Zisel, the next time you open up a Chumash and you read the words, first of all, how careful you have to be with every detail and minutia of halacha and the words of the Torah and the words of Chazal, because if you move it one iota, mekalkel kol ha'olam kulai. But we also see something very great about the Avos HaKadoshim. If Chazal say that if one detail of the Chumash, if it would move out of place, the whole world would be destroyed, think about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to save the life of Yaakov Avinu. The Rebbe Shem was willing to tamper with the text just to protect Yaakov Avinu from Esav. Think about how chaviv the Avos were to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how chaviv Yaakov Avinu was to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Rebbe Shem was willing to change the text just to protect Yaakov Avinu. Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva, vayilech Harana, vayishkav b'makom hahu. There he slept. But the Yud Dalet Shana in the Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever lo shachav b'layla. This is the great matana that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, and through our limud HaTorah then, says Ar Chaim HaKadosh, Koi Omar Boira'acha Yaakov. Literally the pasuk means, so says your Creator, Kama Yaakov. But the Ar Chaim HaKadosh says it means, Koi Omar Boira'acha Yaakov. Who creates the world? Who affects the world? Who controls the happenings of the world? Klal Yisrael, who is loymei Torah. That through this blueprint that is given, that is nimsar to Klal Yisrael, we control the destiny of the world. Not everything that happens is pre-programmed into the Torah. There are certain things that were nimsar to us. That's the miracle of Hanukkah. May we be zoicha to be able to access the great koyach and the great kedusha and the great energy of Torasenu HaKadosha. We should be zoicha to all birchas HaTorah, oirech yom and bimina, smail oishe v'chavoid, Adonai yozlam o yitain, Adonai barech zamay v'ashalim.
It's